It all starts 30 years ago, when the sky ripped wide open and a horde of monsters came pouring in, a little event folks like to call the Rush. In response, humanity awakened classes, managing to push the creatures back, but then a whole new problem reared its ugly head. A massive divide happened. Those who could use magic became the top dogs, while everyone else was downgraded to regular commoners, or plebs. Any job that didn't involve magic powers started getting treated like absolute trash by society. Gripping his wooden sword tightly, someone out there was still holding on to hope. Tatsuma Imori, a guy who firmly believes the era of the swordsman is about to make a massive comeback. Our guy explains he actually came from Earth and ended up getting ice-cade into this new world. 3 years ago, he was taken in by a humble, working-class couple. Even though his new family was broke, he was raised with a ton of love under their roof. His adoptive dad hands him a sword, apologizing that it's the only thing they could afford to give him. Promising his full support, the old man swears that he and his wife are going to work even harder. Their ultimate goal is to buy him some magic gear and get their son into the best school possible. His mom totally agrees, saying that even though he's a normie, she knows her boy has an unbeatable soul. With all that weight on his shoulders, Tatsuma decides he absolutely has to become the strongest guy around. He thinks about how the world changed, but the snobby elite stayed exactly the same, always acting like strength only comes from a fancy bloodline. His fist, he reflects on how the strong step on the weak using their status, completely clueless that natural talent doesn't equal real power. Right after, he focuses on the old, beat-up blade his dad gave him. He remembers the moment he got it, feeling all the guilt his parents carried for not being able to provide something better. But inside our MC burns an intense soul, a power he considers way better than any flashy magic spell. Tatsuma makes it crystal clear that he never once judged or blamed his adoptive parents for their struggles. That simple weapon was already more than enough for him to climb to the very top of the world. They had already given him the most precious thing of all, so the rest was just details. Fueled by pure determination, the MC walks his path, ready for whatever the universe throws at him. His main goal right now is to make sure his family never has to struggle another day in their lives. He promises to pay back every ounce of faith they put in him by becoming the undisputed #1 warrior in this place. Cutting to a huge, packed plaza, Tatsuma's name is called over the mic for his class advancement. The crowd instantly recognizes the kid, hyping him up as the academy's top student and the shining star of the commoners. They are totally blown away because he aced every martial arts test and got top marks in fencing, all without even having a class yet. The rich kids just laugh, calling him delusional and saying that without magic, the guy is nothing but a total flop. Some dude in the crowd agrees, pointing out that a swordsman is practically doomed to get a low-tier class. The snobs start talking the regular folks around them, telling the scum to back away from their personal space. They mockingly declare that swords have been useless for ages, and anyone focusing on them is going to be trash forever. They say even if the kid hits the jackpot, it'll only give the normies false hope before reality smacks them in the face. The elite crowd makes sure to loudly state that a pleb will never change their fate and should just stop dreaming about the impossible. Brushing off the haters, Tatsuma walks with laser focus straight toward the energy pillar. He reaches out and touches the glowing floating panel to finally reveal his destiny in the system. A massive flash of light takes over the plaza as the giant machine processes his results. The holographic screen finally projects his class, revealing him to be a rank D swordsman. The entire crowd deflates instantly, realizing there are no miracles if even their big genius failed. A working class guy practically tears up, thinking the lower class is just cursed to suffer at the bottom of the barrel forever. Loving the misery, the trust fund kids burst out laughing, calling everyone a bunch of hopeless losers. Looking down, the MC stares at his stats, noticing he literally pulled the worst ranking on the entire list. But in a split second, his vibe changes. He smirks, thinking this game is far from over. Even with a garbage tier rank and being the butt of the joke, our guy remains completely unbothered. In fact, Tatsuma thinks things played out perfectly for the start of his epic journey. A staff member announces that the rookie test is about to begin, and the results will decide who gets a spot at the university. The preppy kids joke that only the last place guy gets booted, guaranteeing that the loser's spot belongs to Tatsuma. They point out he's the only commoner even participating, so there's zero chance he saves himself. Cutting off the gossip, the instructor tells the students to step up when called to grab their starter weapons. First up is Setsu, making the crowd go wild because she's the famous rank S archer. Stop, claiming she's an absolute SSSS tier genius. The archer smoothly accepts an elven ice bow and steps aside for the next person in line. Shortly after, it's the MC's turn to step up as his name booms through the speakers. Tatsuma asks for a sword, but gets told his class restricts him to the bargain bin section. The guy in charge hands him a rusty blade, sarcastically asking him not to break the precious relic. The guy cracks up, saying the thing is basically scrap metal and will probably end up in the dumpster by the end of the day. Ignoring the unnecessary shade, our guy turns around and walks off with his piece of junk. Meanwhile, another participant shows off a giant electric hammer, looking at the swordsman like he's out of his mind. The young guy tests the weight of the iron scrap, finding the balance surprisingly great and focusing only on the practical side. He figures those god-tier weapons the rich kids have exist in a completely different dimension from his. Even so, Tatsuma knows all it takes is a little imagination to turn a piece of wood into a lethal weapon. With everyone in position, the announcer drops the news that the nearby forest got invaded by otherworldly monsters. He quickly calms the crowd down, assuring them the creatures are level 2 at best. The rundown emphasizes that the danger level is 0 as long as everyone uses the actual perks of their classes. For overall safety, the committee allows them to form free teams to explore the zone. However, hunting points will be strictly divided among team members, which affects the final grade. Seeing the rookie walk away, a snob provokes him, asking if he's running away to avoid public embarrassment. The guy drags out the joke, swearing nobody would be dumb enough to carry the official loser of the exam. Right then, the S-rank archer crosses his path and bluntly asks if he's really going to take this on solo. Confirming without missing a beat, the young guy says he prefers flying solo and highly doubts anyone would invite him anyway. The girl immediately gets that he's a thrill-seeking lone wolf, and the guy just nods silently. In the back, his rivals watch the little chat, glaring daggers at them, just itching for the combat to start. Adjusting his posture, the swordsman says bye to his classmate, agreeing to meet up in the hunting zone. Heading into the jungle, he notices how the nobles throw cash at beefed-up weapons to get an easy win. On his side of the tracks, he'll have to survive a mortal challenge using nothing but the rusty junk he's holding. The system panel pops up, detailing that the rusty sword has minimum power and breaks easily. Watching the kid step into the portal, Setsu can't figure out where he gets all that confidence. She wonders if his ego comes from his perfect fencing score, a tough subject that pays 0 dividends. The archer thinks to herself that in a world ruled by magic, physical classes have no future whatsoever. Tatsuma just gives a slight smirk, totally aware that everyone there thinks the exact same thing about him. Stepping onto the battlefield, the MC is locked in, determined to stop being just a regular loser. He strongly believes that real power comes from sheer willpower, not from whatever zip code you were born in. Walking with his sword, the guy thinks about the magic weapons that run on high-tech circuitry. Heavy gear offers defenses that normal people could never pull off on their own. The big secret behind these elite weapons is the pure magic field built right into them. Because of that, literally anyone can unleash massive destruction with a single, brainless swing. That makes actual skill pretty much useless, turning victory into a shortcut you can just buy with daddy's money. Cutting to the forest, a noble straight up flattens a wolf, using the sheer force of a giant electric hammer. Buddies cheer the attack, totally amazed by how absurdly powerful the gear is. The hammer guy flexes his own strength, claiming the starter area monsters are just way too weak. The suit is feeling himself, bragging that his hammer could one-shot level 3 monsters easily. Hyping up their ridiculous firepower, the trio goes ahead and claims the title of top team, guaranteeing they'll win the event. But suddenly, a desperate scream echoes through the dark forest, totally ruining the vibe. Startled by the sudden noise, one of the sidekicks notices the bushes rustling. A kid with glasses stumbles out of the brush, looking absolutely terrified by whatever he just saw. The trio stumbles upon a massive pile of defeated wolves, thinking the body count is completely bizarre. They can't believe so many creatures were wiped out in such a short amount of time. The team leader points out they haven't crossed paths with any heavy hitter teams so far. Suspecting a dark horse in the exam, the glasses guy decides to pop a magic detection spell on the area. He gets super confused when he finds 0 magic traces, but instantly dismisses the idea that a physical class pulled this off. Out of nowhere, someone steps out of the shadows, telling the preppy squad to back away from his loot. The hammer guy recognizes the normie and immediately starts laughing in his face. Mocking the whole situation, he asks if the rookie seriously thinks he took out the beast with a garbage sword. Tatsuma just stares at the rich kids in complete silence, rocking a dead serious expression. The leader claims physical attacks can't even scratch a monster's defense, and that the kid is just a passerby. The mage takes a closer look at the damage and concludes it was caused by some advanced wind magic. The leader turns to our MC, asking if he actually did that using a literal piece of scrap. Replying that it wasn't exactly magic, the swordsman does an absurdly fast swinging motion in the air. He explains he just cut the air so fast that the impact did the damage, but the mage immediately calls cap. Pointing a finger, the noble demands to know if the pleb is trying to play them for fools. Pissed off by the sheer audacity, the rich kid yells, asking how a normal human could pull off something so unreal. Completely unfazed, Tatsuma points out that limits only exist in their tiny, narrow minds. While the guy is playing it cool, a vicious wolf leaps right toward the hammer guy's back. His teammates panic instantly, screaming their heads off about the lethal danger. The noble turns his head, sweating bullets as he watches the beast open its jaws to bite his head off. But before it connects, the creature gets brutally sliced in half mid-air by the swordsman. The monster hits the dirt, completely wrecked right in front of the entire squad. The rich kid tries to process what just happened, thinking the normie barely even moved his sword to save him. He's in absolute shock, thinking there's no freaking way the official loser just pulled off a move like that. Tatsuma casually mentions that monsters built up massive resistance against physical damage after the invasion. Because of that little evolution, physical class attacks started doing flat-out zero damage to them. Thanks to that unfair little detail, close combat warriors started getting treated like absolute garbage. But, holding his blade steady, the MC makes it clear that with him, it's a whole different ballgame. He reveals that when you awaken a class, the system tosses you a random talent. His passive talent literally nullifies any enemy buffs, completely ignoring their defenses. Thanks to that, he slices through boss monsters like butter, so he casually tells the squad to have a nice day. But the hammer bro refuses to be ignored and orders the rookie to stop right there. Using a threatening tone, the noble warns that a pleb can't just swipe all the points and run away. Pausing his walk, Tatsuma glances over his shoulder, wondering what the heck this guy's problem is. The snob complains that the monsters are limited, so other students are getting screwed over. He keeps running his mouth, saying the pleb is already destined to finish dead last anyway. Looking the rich kid right in the eye, the swordsman warns that the final results might shock everyone. The leader goes full dirty mode, threatening to report the kid for cheating so his score gets zeroed out. Eyes wide with entitlement, the noble tells the commoner to know his place and bow down to the elite. Losing his patience, the sidekick pulls out a knife and demands all the points and an immediate forfeit. Uses the distraction to lock the MC's arms down using heavy mana chains. The group thinks they've got this in the bag, figuring it's impossible for a magic-less guy to fight off three armed nobles. Even totally tied up, Tatsuma keeps his cool and rejects their little blackmail attempt on the spot. The knife guy loses it, highly offended that he's being underestimated by some low-class nobody. Prepping a cheap shot, the leader warns that if the hammer takes him out, they'll just call it an accident. Before things get any uglier, a spine-chilling monstrous roar makes the entire forest shake. Everyone looks around in sheer panic, realizing that level of vocal pressure is way too crazy for a simple wolf. The swordsman narrows his eyes, sensing that the danger is already right on top of them. With a violent crash, a colossal monster lands, absolutely destroying everything in its path. The system blares an emergency alert, announcing that taking out this creature grants legendary loot. The massive beast flashes its glowing teeth and lets out a howl to intimidate the intruders on its turf. Getting over his fear real quick, the leader's eyes light up thinking about the insane payload this boss drop would bring. Forgetting all about the pleb, he orders his buddies to go in first and cast a slow debuff on the giant monster. Blindly following orders, the lackey steps up, launching a heavy ice blade right at the creature. But the big bad wolf dodges the spell in a flash, proving this fight isn't going to be a walk in the park. Crazy agility, the monster claps back instantly, launching a devastating attack that sends the whole team flying. Shaking with fear, the mage realizes the difficulty level of this test is completely busted, and one hit means game over. Tatsuma tells the kid to stop standing there like a statue and drop the mana chains already. But the squad leader stops his buddy, announcing they're going to make a run for it and use the rookie as bait. The suit books it without looking back, figuring the more bait he leaves behind, the better his chances of surviving. Wasting zero time, the beast charges full speed straight at the fleeing mage. Taking advantage of the opening, the swordsman flexes his raw strength and shatters the magic holding him. Seeing that the coward's bailed, he draws his old sword, actually hyped to test his strength against a worthy opponent. Packed with determination, the kid dashes at full speed straight toward the colossal creature. Pushing off hard, he leaps into the air, keeping his eyes locked on the target. Tatsuma throws a direct swing, just looking to test the waters and gauge the enemy's power. But the big wolf crosses its arms and blocks the blade without breaking a sweat. The insane collision sends the MC flying backward like a ragdoll. Sliding across the dirt, he's actually impressed to see the beast didn't take a single scratch. Furious that a puny human tried him, the giant monster lets out an ear-piercing roar. With its red eyes glowing with pure rage, the predator locks all its attention onto the kid. The beast charges in with a brutal tackle, proving it just got even faster than before. Tatsuma uses his weapon to catch the wolf's bite, feeling the sheer weight of the creature's crazy power. He starts wondering if a rank S monster's basic attack is always this ridiculous. Noticing his blade starting to crack, the young guy realizes this piece of metal is hitting its physical limit. Hiding in the trees from a safe distance, the noble leader watches the whole thing with his jaw on the floor. Can't believe the so-called loser of the test actually tanked a hit from the area boss. Applying crushing pressure, the giant wolf tries to flatten the pleb into the dirt at all costs. The coward with the hammer figures the rookie lost his mind and is just committing straight-up suicide. But in this critical moment, the swordsman feels his fear awaken a pure survival instinct. The creature winds up for a fatal claw swipe, forcing the MC to focus entirely on defense. He realizes this is the exact flow state he reached while grinding his advanced fencing training. With a millimeter-perfect dodge, the kid escapes by a hair in a move he calls the Dance of Blades. Tatsuma understands that a warrior's true peak shows up exactly when things get deadly. Clinging to life, he channels his aura into the rusty weapon, activating the system's sync skill. Letting out a battle cry, the MC unleashes a clean slash with his now energy-coated sword. The level S creature's eyes go wide, caught completely off guard by the speed of the counter. In one fluid motion, the kid lops off the beast's massive arm, sending a fountain of damage flying. He hypes up the hit, noticing the power boost from the skill was way beyond what he expected. Flashing a confident smirk, Tatsuma tells himself there's no way he loses this fight now. But the wolf lets out a terrifying roar as a dark, red aura envelopes its wounded body. Going totally berserk, the boss charges at its target with terrifying speed. The swordsman barely has time to breathe as he dodges a frantic flurry of insane slashes. The beast's punch misses by an inch, slamming into the ground and leaving a massive crater right next to the kid. Blown away by the destruction, the young guy figures the monster's physical strength just got multiplied too. Right after, he has to throw his guard up fast to block another savage charge. The clash between them sets off an absurd energy explosion that wipes out everything nearby. Unable to absorb the full impact, the commoner goes skidding across the dirt, carving 2 trenches in the ground. The suit curses in pure terror, telling his legs to move so he can get the heck out of Dodge. Suddenly, the hero comes sliding right past the cowardly playboy, just giving him a deadpan stare. Looking ice cold, Tatsuma tells the rich kid to get out of his way right now. The hammer guy freezes up instantly, internally asking himself if this dude is really the loser of the exam. Paralyzed by fear, he feels like the kid's aura has changed so much he basically looks like a demon. Not giving a crap about the coward, the MC steps up, walking firmly back toward his real opponent. Taking advantage of the staggered enemy, he does a surgical leap to finish this fight once and for all. Without hesitating, the kid buries his sword deep into the beast's chest, securing the final blow. Silence takes over the forest as the hero stands tall over the defeated boss's body. But the win comes with a heavy price tag, making the kid shut his eyes from the pain of pushing past his limits. Holding his head, he realizes his body is wrecked and the sync effects are completely gone. Even dead tired, a suspicious noise makes the swordsman open his eyes and notice someone creeping up. The noble leader shows up with his electric hammer, cynically admitting the pleb is actually a genius. Looking like a total psycho, the playboy raises his weapon, announcing that the slum kid's luck runs out right here. The guy stares down the threat with a deadly glare, asking if the trash isn't afraid of a counterattack. But before he can move, Tatsuma coughs, dropping to his knees from sheer, extreme exhaustion. The suit laughs in relief, mocking how the hero played savior and just ended up exposing his own weakness. The coward brags that the admins will think the monster did it, guaranteeing him the title of sole survivor. Winding up the hammer with everything he's got, the villain yells that he's finally going to be the undisputed #1. Even running on fumes, the MC scrapes together his last sparks of energy, swearing he won't accept this ending. With pure hatred in his eyes, he promises he'd never let some cowardly garbage take him out. Leaning on his pride as a swordsman, Tatsuma raises his blade to block the heavy swing. A massive spark explodes from the clash, and the noble tells his opponent to stop resisting for nothing. Pushing the attack even harder, the snob tells the pleb to just give up as he snaps the old sword right in half. But right at the playboy's moment of glory, a creepy purple blur cuts through the air right behind him. The suit's smile vanishes the second he feels the crushing presence of the giant beast breathing down his neck. Terrifying silence falls over the area as the eyes of the true predator glow in the dark. With one quick, brutal slap, the wolf sends the leader flying like he's absolutely nothing. Radiating intense purple aura, the creature shows it just awakened its ultimate blood fury. The system chimes in, saying this extreme skill triggers when the boss is on death's door, doubling its power. The kid realizes the beast played dead just to make him drop his guard, thinking it's a super dirty trick. Seeing the monster charge again, Tatsuma readies his broken sword, ready to hit back now that he caught his breath. The guy figures that Blood Fury drops the monster's defense, deciding this crisis is actually the ultimate window to counter. Keeping his cool, he jams the broken blade into the dirt, using the earth itself as a makeshift sheath. The wolf charges in roaring, and the swordsman channels all his power, willpower, and conviction into the broken weapon. Completely unhinged, the creature closes the gap, growling and ready to tear the hero apart. The giant beast gets right up in his face, leaking a terrifying purple energy from its claws. Seizing the opening, Tatsuma triggers sync again and fires off a devastating slash pulled straight from the ground. With an absurd impact, the vertical strike tears through the air and hits the boss dead, on giving it zero chance to block. After the dust settles, the system announces the Wolf Lord is defeated and hands over 10,000 reward points. Running through the woods, Setsu radios in about the abnormal monster outbreak and begs for emergency backup to rescue the victims. The archer finally reaches the spot, finding the MC exhausted but still rocking a slight smirk. Seeing the girl show up, he jokes that her timing is absolutely perfect right before he completely blacks out. Unable to fight off the extreme fatigue anymore, the kid passes out cold right in front of her. Cutting back to the university, the big screen shows Tatsuma sitting pretty in first place with an insane 10,300 points. Asking which Imori. This is until someone confirms it can only be the rank D normie. One student totally panics, saying that score is impossible because it's 5 times higher than the genius archers. Furious, a noble yells that the system must be bugged, thinking it's an absolute outrage for a commoner to drag the elite's pride by taking the top spot. The rest of the rich kids immediately agree, accusing the rookie of cheating and demanding his score gets wiped. With everyone losing their minds, a guy in glasses checks his magic orb to verify it, getting a green light from the machine. The guy gulps and gets on the mic, telling the crowd he's got some incredibly bad news. The screen shows the rescued bodies, while the evaluator explains that the monsters in the central area randomly went crazy. He drops the bomb that 2 nobles didn't make it and 1 got hurt, leaving the suits completely stunned by the tragedy. Reading the report, the guy reveals that the survivor Tatsuma took down a level 5 threat, racking up all those points. The crowd refuses to believe a swordsman beat a boss, deciding he must have just stolen the last hit from a dying beast. A student yells in outrage, asking if those points count since noble lives were lost in the process. Back at the forest, the archer interrogates the bandaged kid, demanding to know what really went down in that fight. Cool, the MC lies, saying he just got lucky by swinging his sword at the exact right second. But his classmate says she scoped the area and found 0 traces of magic, proving the cuts were pure physical skill. Giving him a super suspicious look, the girl asks if he really soloed the Wolf Lord all by himself. She pieces together that the nobles tried to steal the kill and ended up being the berserk monster's first targets. Changing the subject fast, Tatsuma scratches his head and says that's just some wild conspiracy theory she cooked up. The archer asks if the rookie is going to defend himself against the cheating allegations, but he says there's no point. The kid would rather stay quiet, knowing the elite's minds are already made up and arguing will just be a waste of breath against their prejudice. Gripping his broken sword, he thinks that even a piece of scrap metal tossed in the trash can prove its worth. With a sharp look in his eyes, the young guy vows his skills will do all the talking for him from now on. Far away, the judging committee agrees that voiding the pleb's score is the smartest move to stop the nobles from rioting. The suit turns on his mic and announces to everyone that they unanimously voted to zero out Tatsuma's points. The rich kids immediately start clapping, mocking how a nobody didn't even have the right to dream about the top spot. Right on cue, the big screen glitches, crossing out the swordsman's name and bumping the archer up to first place. Ignoring the glitch, the guy keeps reading the protocol, revealing the new list of students who passed the official exam. But as he reads the final rankings, the examiner stammers in confusion, noticing the MC grabbed the 100th spot with 0 points. The whole crowd is left in absolute shock, seeing the loser's name in dead last, but sitting pretty right above the cutoff line. Furious, the students start screaming, demanding to know how someone passes with a 0 and assuming the system is bugged again. Sweating bullets, the admin checks the data trying to figure out why so many students have negative scores. The screen pulls up a ton of nobles who fell below the passing line due to insanely high negative points. The rulebook quickly explains that attacking allies or interfering in someone else's fight slaps you with a massive point penalty. Walking through the plaza, Tatsuma chuckles, realizing the cowards who tried to jump him and the folks in fighting totally screwed themselves over. Thanks to those heavy penalties, the kid's 0 balance actually became the cutoff score, letting him scrape into college by a hair. Looking up at the sky, the hero cracks a smile, realizing that luck really was on his side this time. But some annoying suit walks up, yelling that the pleb's life won't change at all and the institute is going to be pure hell for him. The The snob walks off with his goons, warning that without a rich family backing him, the freshman won't even last a few months. Finding the threat hilarious, the swordsman smirks, thinking the idea of living in hell sounds pretty entertaining. Hands in his pockets, he strolls away, totally stoked to see if the elite can actually handle going toe-to-toe with him in class. Sometime later, the freshmen gather in the main courtyard of Ryujin University for their first day of school. Right at the entrance, Tatsuma notices the upperclassmen's uniforms and sees the badges are segregated by social class. Suddenly, a deep voice booms down the hall, ordering someone to stop dead in their tracks at the turnstiles. Two bullies are glaring at a commoner, demanding to know why a piece of trash is trying to use the noble's main gate. The massive senior points to a tiny little side door, telling him that's the only way he's allowed to get in. Watching from a distance, the MC sees the poor guy try to reason with the power-tripping security jerk. But the rich guy ignores the freshman and tells him to strip and crawl in naked, claiming his clothes broke the dress code. Grabbing the kid by force, the brute says the elite set up this humiliating ceremony to remind them they live in different worlds. Before the senior can rip the freshman's shirt, Tatsuma grabs the bully's arm with an iron grip and tells him to knock it off immediately. The big guy grunts in confusion and turns his head, shocked to see who had the nerve to crash his little power trip. The snob quickly recognizes the MC, remembering him as that problem swordsman who barely made it out of the forest. The rich kid smirks, thinking some suicidal idiot was trying to play hero, but relaxes when he sees it's just the loser freshman. He mentions he already warned him college would be hell. Thinking it's pathetic, the kid actually had the guts to enroll. Laughing it up, the bully points to the trash gate and tells the hero to get on his knees, strip, and put a collar on if he wants to pass. The suit says it's standard procedure and tries to intimidate the guy, promising he's the next one up on the chopping block. But without losing his cool, the swordsman makes it clear that any student who got in on pure merit has the right to use the front door. Staring the playboy down, he states that the elite might wear expensive clothes, but on the inside, they're completely hollow. The big shots nearby gasp at the disrespect, thinking it's an absolute outrage for regular trash to talk back to a noble like that. Clenching his fists, the upperclassman announces that the rules let him use force against the lower classes, promising to beat the kid to a pulp. Sighing deeply, the young guy figures these arrogant nobles waste zero time trying to flex on day one. With a look of pure pity, he calls the whole group pathetic for stepping on the weak just to protect their own superiority complexes. The hero drops a truth bomb, saying that without their family names, all these suits are worth less than human garbage. Shaking with pure rage from getting roasted, the senior decides the cocky pleb is practically begging to be put in the ground. Totally unfazed by the threat, the swordsman tells the rich kid that if he's so mad, he should stop stalling and just swing already. He promises to teach the senior a lesson the hard way, dishing out all the pain he's been causing everyone else. Standing his ground, the kid shows he's completely out of patience with the elite's constant bullying. With that, he vows to pay back every ounce of humiliation multiplied by 100, burning the warning right into the suit's brain. Furious at the disrespect, the big guy charges in with his fist cocked, swearing to beat the freshman into the pavement. As the punch comes flying in, Tatsuma casually sidesteps, dodging the heavy blow without even trying. Taking advantage of the massive opening, the hero delivers a brutal hook straight into the arrogant bully's face. Unable to defend himself, the noble gets launched backward by the insane, sheer force of the impact. The suit goes tumbling violently across the pavement, kicking up a huge cloud of dust all over the campus courtyard. He only stops when he crashes hard against the base of the university wall, way far away from where the fight even started. Out cold, the playboy is left sprawled out on the ground twitching, proving the fight was settled in a single, clean move. A teacher stands there completely frozen in shock, while the swordsman just brushes his hands off like it was nothing. The whole crowd is paralyzed, unable to believe what they just saw, completely mind-blown that a heavyweight got launched like that. People start whispering in a panic that the normie floored the guy with his bare hands, terrified to think what he'd do with a sword. Ignoring the chatter, the young guy turns around and casually strolls down the path that the terrified crowd opened up for him. Walking through the massive iron gates, Tatsuma minds his business while the rest of the campus tries to process the beatdown. Suddenly, the downgraded students start clapping shyly, feeling a massive wave of relief seeing their oppressor get decked. Soon enough, the whole group starts cheering loudly, hyping up the perfect punch that basically saved everyone's skin. Hearing the party at the gate, the kid glances back and notices the little spark of hope he just ignited in them. Walking casually, he admits to himself he didn't want to draw this much heat so early, but laying down the law felt pretty darn good. Finally making it to his destination, the MC turns the knob and opens his dorm room to get settled in. Inside, a super hyped chubby kid introduces himself as Jumatsuoka, letting him know everyone just calls him Butcho. The swordsman shakes his hand and introduces himself back, thinking his new roommate seems pretty chill. Excited, Butcho throws an arm around the guy's neck, rambling about some mysterious savior who just threw down at the main gate. With a sweat drop forming, the young guy looks away, realizing the gossip about his fight spread at the speed of light. Waving his hands wildly, the paladin tells the story of how the crazy, unknown dude almost snapped a senior's neck with one punch. The gossip lover swears the nobles turned pale with fear, while Tatsuma takes a seat, realizing the story is already way blown out of proportion. Sighing mentally, the hero admits to himself it was just a quick jab, because the bully was surprisingly weak. Fascinated by the whole legend, the roommate declares that this random fighter is his new absolute life inspiration from now on. Fired up, the chubby kid clenches his fists, swearing he's also gonna hunt down the campus villains to help people out. Changing the subject fast, Bucco mentions he's a rank B paladin and asks his new buddy what his rank is. The kid is completely shocked, assuming his friend must have trained like an absolute madman to get accepted with a rank D. Showing off his loyalty, the roommate grabs him by the shoulders and promises to protect him, using his own name to ward off bullies. Tatsuma lets out a quiet laugh, remembering how much he hates teaming up and finding this free bodyguard offer super weird. But he decides to just roll with the misunderstanding, knowing that dropping the truth bomb right now would ruin his peace and quiet. Cutting to the infirmary, a fancy butler tells the bruised up patient that the head of the family wants this embarrassment fixed ASAP. The bandaged bully loses it in his bed, telling the lackey to shut up, absolutely seething with hatred over the humiliation that pleb put him through. Grinding his teeth, he orders them to pull every dirty string the family has inside the school within a week. Adjusting his glasses like a movie villain, the suited goon nods and promises to arrange a nice, fatal accident for the freshman. Consumed by blind rage, the big guy pictures his worst enemy drowning in total despair and covered in bruises. He swears like a total psycho that he's gonna get front row seats to the hit just to satisfy his bruised ego. The next day, the entire freshman class gathers in the massive practical training yard for their very first lesson. Hiding in the crowd, Butcho whispers that the teacher on duty loves picking on poor freshmen and says they should keep a low profile. The combat instructor walks up slowly with an authoritarian vibe, staring down the new kids with absolute coldness and disgust. The guy officially introduces himself as Benjamin and pushes his philosophy of merit, making it super clear he despises weakness. Scanning the crowd without even hiding it, the guy immediately locks eyes with the MC to visually confirm his target is there. He instantly recalls the tense phone call with the powerful family, where he decided that just expelling the kid would be way too nice. During that shady deal, the corrupt teacher guaranteed he'd settle the blood debt by making the lower-class rat disappear completely. Snapping back to the lesson, the instructor reads his clipboard, mocking the fact that there's a rank D student who doesn't know his place. The elites immediately start whispering, offended that some useless piece of trash is breathing the same air as them on the field. Feeling the heavy tension, Butcho nudges his buddy, sweating bullets when he realizes the toxic remarks are aimed right at him. Dropping the professional act, Benjamin yells Tatsuma's name with pure disgust and orders him to drop out, calling his presence an insult. Unfazed by the public roasting, the young guy fires back, saying he earned his spot fair and square through the exams. Turning up the sass, the student admits he's actually super eager to see if all this talk about superiority holds up in a real fight. He kicks off a mini speech about leveling up, calling the grind a totally democratic way for anyone to get stronger. But on the flip side, he calls out the massive head start the high ranks get, explaining how that advantage crushes any fairness from day one. As a direct result, all the funding goes to rare bloodlines, burying the lower classes before they even get a chance to fight back. Laying out his worldview, the kid warns that the system's base stats don't even come close to defining actual, real power. Raising his voice, he describes raw technique as the forgotten third pillar and the ultimate lethal weapon for those born with nothing. Finding the cowardly suit's death threat hilarious, the hero admits that the danger just made the whole thing way more interesting. Openly baiting the enemy, Tatsuma challenges the teacher to give them a real, live demonstration of this supposedly top-tier education. Extremely offended by the sheer nerve, Benjamin screams about the inferior student's lack of respect in front of the whole class. Planning to use brute force, the guy picks the rebel student as a disposable crash test dummy for some broken academy gear. The spoiled brats cheer at the cruelty immediately, thinking it's the perfect punishment and begging for a chance to join in on the beatdown. Totally panicking, Butcho grabs his friend's arm, begging him to just apologize and fake a stomach H so they can bolt. Gently pushing his buddy's hand away, Tatsuma points out that you only get equality by proving your worth with your own two fists. He stands by his core belief, saying he'd rather take the absolute worst beating standing tall than spend his whole life on his knees. Hearing that unbreakable mindset, the big guy goes quiet, finally understanding just how hardcore his friend's mentality really is. Leaving the chat behind, the MC walks up the long stairs, heading straight for the main stage of his little judgment day. Watching his victim approach, the instructor celebrates his good luck, thinking a public wipeout saves him a ton of dirty work. Changing the rules at the very last second, the corrupt teacher bans blades to leave the pleb completely unarmed for the ambush. The hero takes the disrespect without a single complaint, stabbing his rusty weapon into the ground because he refuses to dirty his steel on trash. Hyped up by this totally rigged setup, 3 rich kids volunteer at the exact same time to initiate the heavy attacks. Benjamin cracks an evil smile, giving them the green light instantly and ordering the trio to jump the target all at once. The low-ranked students internally freak out over the brutal sentence, while the untouchables laugh, thinking the slum kid is absolute toast. Adjusting his glasses maliciously, Benjamin notes he never promised a fair fight, emphasizing that reality is just plain cruel to plebs who forget their place. Hearing this total garbage, Bucko stands in the crowd completely shocked. Standing chill in the arena, the MC thinks to himself he doesn't even need his hands to deal with these losers. But breaking the silence, the paladin raises his hand, calling out to the instructor and asking to join the fight too. The teacher glances over his shoulder, mocking him and assuming the rookie just wants to beat up his friend to score brownie points. Running to the middle of the field, the chubby kid denies it and announces he's stepping in as the swordsman's tag team partner. Finding the whole thing highly entertaining, the corrupt guy gives a cynical smile, commenting that trash really does attract trash. Stepping in front of his buddy, Butcho says he changed the game plan and asks the hero to just hold out for 1 minute before tapping out. Looking dead serious, the paladin swears he's going to focus purely on defense to save his buddy's pride and avoid expulsion. Tatsuma is surprised but smiles and says thanks, thinking he was just going to wreck the trio, but now he's got to look out for his bro's rep. Kid finds the situation slightly annoying, deciding he's going to have to hold back during the brawl so he doesn't expose his real power. The second Benjamin yells for the match to start, the 3 suits fire off their deadly magic straight at the duo. Moving fast, the chubby kid summons a giant glowing barrier, impressing the elites who recognize the super rare defense class. Tanking the heavy blast of the explosion, the partner tells the swordsman to stay behind him until he calls it quits. Meanwhile, thick smoke blankets the field, and the hero thinks waiting a whole minute is just way too long. Using the visual cover, the kid dashes at full speed through the dust, side-stepping fireballs like it's nothing. Popping up like a literal ghost, he delivers a fast, pinpoint strike to the back of a rich kid's neck, turning his lights out instantly. Without missing a beat, the swordsman zips across the field between the other 2 opponents, handing out lights out punches. With a perfect hit, the last suit gets launched into the air, totally knocked out before his brain even registers what happened. The smoke finally clears, revealing the 3 attackers completely floored while the paladin is still holding his defensive stance. Keeping his guard up and sweating buckets, the chubby kid jumps when his buddy casually taps him on the shoulder from behind. Confused by the sudden peace and quiet, he turns around and asks if the match is over, getting a super chill yep. In response, looking around the arena, Bucko is totally baffled as to why the opponents are randomly taking a nap on the floor. In the stands, the crowd realizes the rookie used the smokescreen to force close quarters combat and completely shut down the mages. Sweating cold, Benjamin realizes the kid's martial arts skills are the real deal, probably forged in violent street fights. But playing the innocent card, Tatsuma yells out that the guys got so hyped up they accidentally blew themselves up with unstable magic. The excuse instantly, the paladin punches his palm, concluding the trio's mana must have collided and backfired. The teacher calls off the lesson, ordering the bodies to be dragged away, using the magic instability excuse to sweep the whole thing under the rug. The spoiled brats in the stands breathe a sigh of relief, totally convinced the plebs' win was nothing but pure, dumb luck. Staring at the teacher from a distance, the young guy notices the corrupt guy's anger, clearly doubting he'll survive much longer at the academy. Turning his head, the instructor announces a dungeon exam for the next day, guaranteeing absolutely nobody is going to team up with the slum kid. Walking toward the exit, the guy tries to drop one last warning, but the hero cuts him off, saying he's actually really looking forward to it. Rocking a confident smirk, Tatsuma sarcastically asks if he met the coward's supposedly high merit standards today. The next day, every student gathers at the testing entrance for the highly anticipated dungeon exam. Holding a megaphone, Benjamin announces the mission is to clear the normal difficulty, and anyone who fails gets booted immediately. Prevent accidents. The teacher drops a new rule: teams must have at least 3 people, including at least 1 noble. The corrupt guy makes it clear that any pleb deemed useless won't take the test, which Tatsuma knows is a ban on carrying dead weight. Right then, Buko runs up looking super pumped, calling his buddy over to squad up and saying he already found 2 nobles chilling nearby. The paladin points at the duo of suits standing a few feet away, super hyped about getting a team together. Introducing his buddy, he swears the swordsman is a total pro and will easily handle all the close quarters combat. But one of the nobles laughs in his face, recognizing the MC as the infamous Team Ender. His partner nods, saying he heard wild rumors about people biting the dust in exams, and no rich kid would ever team up with a guy like that. Buko is standing there completely lost, having no idea where these crazy accusations came from. Tatsuma realizes immediately that someone planted heavy rumors just to make sure absolutely no noble would join his squad. Staring down Benjamin from afar, the kid figures out the teacher changed the rules specifically to get him expelled without getting his own hands dirty. The chubby kid tries to defend his friend, saying everything was just a misunderstanding, but the hero tells him to drop it. Showing major loyalty, Buko declares he's sticking with the swordsman squad, pointing out that any team needs a rank B paladin anyway. The 2 suits look at each other totally weirded out, not sure how to handle this plot twist. The rich kid tries to bully him, bringing up a story about some commoner girl who supposedly took her own life inside a dungeon. Tatsuma's face instantly goes dark while the snob brags that the girl was an idiot for rejecting a powerful noble's invite. The coward brags that they stripped her gear and dumped her on the 3rd floor, basically forcing the poor girl to meet her maker in the dark. Using a threatening tone, the suit tells the paladin to pick the winning side if he doesn't want to throw his life away. Losing his cool, the MC steps up, holding out his hand, and asks if that's all the trash had to say. The rich kid pulls out a wooden sword and backs up terrified, reminding him that fighting on campus means serious punishment. With a literal demon glare, Tatsuma asks if a supposed Team Ender looks like he cares about getting in trouble right now. Desperate from the killer aura, the coward lunges with his wooden weapon, just trying to defend himself however he can. But the hero barely moves, shattering the enemy's attack with a crisp block, while the noble screams at him not to get cocky. The suit backs off shaking, holding his bruised arm, completely mind blown that the pleb didn't even have to dodge his strike. Seeing the chaos pop off, Butcho calls out his friend's name, super worried and checking if he's okay. Looking down, the swordsman just loudly points out that the school rules only forbid using offensive magic. Staring down the cowards with pure rage, he concludes that throwing regular, physical hands is 100% allowed. The noble starts sweating cold, watching the pleb walk up slowly, stuttering as he asks what the guy is planning to do. Taking one solid step forward, the kid shows that the friendly chat is officially over. With zero mercy, Tatsuma lands a brutal spinning kick dead in the arrogant playboy's face. Thanks to the violent impact, the suit's body goes flying backward at an absolute absurd speed. The coward smashes hard into the stone wall and drops to the pavement, groaning in total agony. The second rich kid freaks out seeing a pleb deck a noble and preps a fire spell, swearing he won't hold back. In the blink of an eye, the swordsman dashes in and grabs the opponent's flaming hand before he can even fire it off. With a quick twist, he snaps the mage's arm, making the guy scream his lungs out from the instant break. Seizing the moment, the hero finishes the combo by driving a heavy knee straight into the enemy's gut. The noble spits up, his eyes bulging as the wind gets completely knocked out of him by the heavy blow. Totally knocked out, the second attacker face plants right onto the concrete, completely wrecked. Standing right behind him, the chubby kid is in total shock watching the elite duo get absolutely humiliated in seconds. The first rich kid struggles to his feet shaking, points his wooden sword, and begs the kid to stay away because his dad is super powerful. Looking bored out of his mind, Tatsuma makes it perfectly clear he doesn't give a single crap who the loudmouth's family is. Butcho grabs his friend's shoulder in a total panic, warning him that beating this guy up ruins their chance to make a team. Turning his head, the kid apologizes for going overboard and promises he'll take the fall for the whole mess by himself. But the paladin yells, reminding him there are other regular kids here, and breaking the rules could ruin the future for everyone at the school. Looking pained, the roommate points out that one wrong move from the swordsman will just make life 10 times worse for anyone without privilege. Getting how his actions actually mess with other people's lives, the hero sighs and agrees to drop the beef for now. The kid realizes the brawl completely nuked their chances of finding a team, figuring out he's the real target of this boycott. Not wanting to drag his buddy down, Tatsuma tells him to keep his distance in public for his own good. Walking away with his head down, the MC decides internally that riding solo is the only option in this preppy school. He figures if everyone's an enemy, at least he won't accidentally catch his friends in the crossfire. But suddenly, the paladin speaks up. Butcho praises his buddy's strength out loud, admitting the hero had the guts to do something he'd never dream of doing. Looking totally determined, the roommate states he's not letting him take the heat alone and doubles down on his promise to watch his back. The paladin gives it to him straight, warning that even if the rules suck, getting expelled now ruins any chance of changing the busted system. Hearing those genuine words, the young guy's eyes widen, kinda surprised to see his scaredy cat friend acting so tough. Finding the whole thing pretty funny, Tatsuma jokes that it's wild getting a hardcore lecture from the biggest coward around. The partner throws an arm around his neck, super hyped, suggesting that worst-case scenario, they just beg for a spot right at the dungeon door. The swordsman agrees someone will probably cave, promising to play by the rules for a bit just to reach the top. After taking a walk, the duo finally hits the open field where a massive, black portal is floating mid-air. Staring at the creepy dimensional rift, the kid chuckles, joking that the dungeon entrance is pretty hard to miss. Looking at the massive crowd of students huddled by the exam gate, the paladin agrees the spot is impossible to miss. A few nobles start whispering when they spot the MC, saying the pleb is only breathing because of the school's safety rules. Everyone nearby quickly backs away to clear a path, muttering that dealing with that kid is just a one-way ticket to trouble. Starts sweating bullets, noticing that even the other commoners are terrified and trying to stay far away from him. Brushing off the dirty looks, Tatsuma gets philosophical, saying the herd always rejects the wolf, but peaceful sheep just get eaten anyway. Right then, an obnoxiously loud laugh echoes across the field, drawing attention to heavy footsteps walking right up to them. A flashy redhead with a major superiority complex shows up, mocking the fact that he just stumbled onto the famous superstar of the bottom-tier plebs. Stopping right in their faces, the threatening-looking guy flat out asks if he's the Tatsuma everyone is talking about. The newcomer introduces himself as Hisashi Shin, while Bucko whispers in a panic that the guy is a super dangerous rank A noble assassin. Out of nowhere, the redhead gives the chubby kid a friendly pat on the shoulder, making the poor guy practically jump out of his skin. Showing some interest, the noble invites the rank B paladin to join his squad to fill the missing tank role. The kid's jaw drops at the totally random invite, while the swordsman just watches the whole thing go down in silence. Rich kids warn Hisashi that recruiting the team, Ender's friend, is basically social suicide and will tank his rep. Confused by the offer, the paladin asks if the invite is just for him, trying to instantly secure a spot for the swordsman too. Acting super full of himself, the assassin shuts it down immediately, saying his team only cares about the tank's defense. Turning the offer down flat, Butcho says he's out, because if his best bro doesn't get in, he's not doing anything. The assassin then suggests taking just the swordsman instead of the tank, testing to see how far the kid's loyalty to his friend actually goes. Pushing for a betrayal, the noble tells the rookie to just take the spot because it's way too good of a deal to pass up. To chill his partner out, Tatsuma promises he can handle himself and reminds him their last team fell apart anyway. The MC starts walking away from the group while the chubby kid asks, totally freaked out, if he's seriously okay with getting expelled. Right then, the redhead calls out to the hero and tells him to hold up a second. The rich kid asks why the guy didn't just beg for the spot, since all he had to say was that he was a better pick than his buddy. Looking back over his shoulder, the young guy answers bluntly that obviously it's better to let his friend take the win. Plus, the swordsman thinks it's super sketchy that some guy pops up out of nowhere offering help right when he's about to be disqualified. Amused by how sharp the kid is, Hisashi comments that the rookie really doesn't miss a single detail. Deciding to put his cards on the table, the noble admits he got some insider info on the test dungeon. He explains the place has insane magic resistance, which puts the elite students, who only rely on magic, at a massive disadvantage. Because of that little detail, physical combat plebs actually get the upper hand, forcing him to hunt down a high-damage physical attacker. The assassin admits he would have ripped the invite up if the hero had betrayed the paladin, since a guy like that wouldn't be worthy of his squad. Pointing a finger, the redhead praises his vibe and makes it clear the MC is built totally different from the other school plebs. Feeling high and mighty, the noble says he'll bend the rules and let the swordsman on the team, expecting the guy to fall on his knees in gratitude. Not looking hyped at all, Tatsuma points out he's just a rank D pleb who literally just picked a fight with every elite in the school. The hero figures the assassin is a calculated guy and knows perfectly well that putting a target like him on the team draws major heat from the suits. Giving him a skeptical look, the kid demands a reason that actually makes sense before he even thinks about agreeing to this crazy pitch. Looking away, Hisashi tries to dodge the question, saying he just wanted to give the rookie a shot and asking if that isn't good enough. Finding the excuse hilarious, the MC calls him out, saying the rich kid literally has nobody else left to finish a squad either. Breaking down his theory, the young guy brings up the official rule that forces a mixed team between the two social classes. But the real reason for that rule is just to save the nobles' skins, since they strictly use magic and would completely fail the test solo. So basically, the school forces them to draft commoner physical attackers, just to act as meat shields for the rich kids inside the dungeon. Staring the redhead down, the swordsman bets that no other noble around here is willing to let an assassin join their group. On the flip side, the hero points out he's literally the only low-class melee fighter left, leaving the veteran with zero other options. Pressing his advantage, Tatsuma mucks him, saying he isn't the one desperately begging for a team, just to avoid failing. Totally embarrassed, the rich kid tells the guy to keep his voice down, muttering that getting rejected by a pleb is way too humiliating. Super awkward, Hisashi asks the rookie to just pretend he owes him a favor and take the invite to avoid any more drama. Trying to flip the script, the assassin reminds him his buddy doesn't exactly have a buffet of team options left in the courtyard either. Agreeing with the logic, the swordsman decides the deal is fair and holds out his hand to make the partnership official. Wasting no time, the assassin shakes the rookie's hand, locking in the most random squad in the entire exam. Hanging in the back, Butcho stutters, asking if the three of them are really going to fight together, and the hero nods, telling him to go register the team already. Walking up to the portal, Hisashi declares himself the leader and demands total obedience, but the young guy says he can't make any promises. Watching from afar, Benjamin is absolutely livid that a rank noble would lower himself to fight alongside a bunch of commoners. Fixing his glasses angrily, the corrupt teacher decides to brush off the insult, figuring that teaming up doesn't mean the rookie is actually going to win. Showing off his evil side, the guy plans to abuse the fact that fatal accidents happen all the time inside dungeons. Fueled by revenge, the suit swears he's gonna love watching all three of those idiots meet a totally miserable end in there. Near the dimensional portal, students are still scrambling to form groups before jumping into the combat zone. Suddenly, the teacher's super annoying voice calls out to the MC, making the friends stop in their tracks immediately. The corrupt guy walks up, mocking the pleb's dumb luck for actually finding a noble crazy enough to take him in. Sick of the trash talk, Tatsuma asks straight up what lame excuse the garbage teacher is going to use to try and block his exam this time. Playing the polite card, Benjamin says he won't interfere, since the kid technically checked all the boxes for the school's requirements. Right after, the instructor tells the young guy to be extremely careful in the dungeon, guaranteeing that absolutely no one can save him from a fatal accident. Freaked out by the obvious threat, the paladin questions what the heck that meant, while his buddy tells him to chill and just ignore the noise. Absolute confidence, Tatsuma sarcastically brushes off the concern, saying his only fear is that the dungeon will be too easy and bore him to tears. The corrupt teacher's face instantly drops, super ticked off by the sheer audacity of the pleb who just refuses to back down. Hiding his rage, the guy hands a dark key to the assassin, telling the leader to keep the access item safe. Checking the item out, Hisashi notices it's an obsidian key and finds it super weird, since everyone is supposed to use the standard mithril ones. Making up an excuse on the fly, Benjamin lies that the materials got swapped at the last minute and taunts the redhead, asking if he's scared. Laughing on the inside, the suit celebrates handing them the ticket to a cursed dungeon, where the danger level is an absolute nightmare for freshmen. Watching the trio walk away, the instructor is 100% sure the swordsman and those two morons are about to get wiped off the map forever. Standing right in front of the swirling energy of the portal, the squad leader steps up, hyping his boys up for action. The second they cross over into the dark cavern, the redhead takes charge to lay out their combat strategy. He assigns the chubby kid as the main meat shield on the front lines and says he'll hang back to drop sneak attacks. Before the assassin can even finish talking, Tatsuma just starts walking off alone, totally ignoring the self-proclaimed boss's orders. Annoyed by the disrespect, the leader tells the rookie to stop, warning that wandering aimlessly in a veteran dungeon is pure suicide. Expecting the worst, the paladin pops his massive magic light shield to brighten up the place and keep the squad safe. The tank tells the swordsman to get behind the barrier and stick to the plan, but he ends up stepping right on a sketchy floor plate. Hearing the rock click right under Butcho's boot, the MC's eyes go wide, realizing they just walked straight into a trap. Suddenly, a massive swarm of monstrous spiders drops from the cave ceiling, completely surrounding the MC. Going into full panic mode, the paladin drops to his knees behind his shield, crying that he has a major phobia of anything with more than 4 legs. Stepping up to the front, Hisashi ignites his daggers with magic flames and tells his scaredy cat partner to stay back where it's safe. The assassin slices through one of the bugs easily, bragging that these insects are basically paper against the fire element. He uses the moment to roast the chubby tank for being a coward, calling it pathetic that he's freezing up over a few bugs. But his trash talk gets stuck in his throat when the leader notices something seriously weird happening on the battlefield. The redhead is shocked to see the entire horde just walking right past the swordsman, ignoring him like he's a total ghost. Completely confused by the monster's AI, the veteran wonders what the heck is going on with these creatures. The noble remembers that these spiders hunt by sniffing out mana in the air, always prioritizing targets with the biggest magic reserves. Doing the math, he figures Tatsuma hasn't used any spells, so his tank should be totally full and drawing all the aggro in the room. But the truth is, the kid voluntarily sacrificed his magic affinity, swearing to reach the top using nothing but a physical sword. The system shows the hidden talent that permanently zeroed out the hero's mana, forcing him to burn pure stamina to use his skills. Hisashi realizes that by throwing magic out the window, the pleb found a crazy loophole to buff every physical stat with zero limits. Blown away by the guts it took, the assassin thinks it's practically impossible to rank up a class without mana, calling the rookie totally unpredictable. The leader's deep thoughts get interrupted instantly when Bucco screams in panic, begging him to focus on the actual fight. Shaking with nerves, Butcho says everything is fine and swears he's going to protect his buddy. Right then, the squad notices the spiders are just booking it away down the dark tunnel. Tatsuma casually mentions the monsters bailed and didn't even want to fight them in the first place. Putting his daggers away, Hisashi tries to figure out what the point of that whole trap even was. The swordsman guesses the horde was just a trigger for something way worse. Suddenly, creepy purple fire erupts in the room, shattering magic chains everywhere. Chunks of rock fly into the air as a mysterious coffin gets blown to pieces in the process. Busting out of the shadows, a giant armored skeleton reveals itself as the hidden boss. The paladin absolutely loses it when he realizes the monster is a terrifying level 5 elite. Sweating cold, the raidhead realizes the corrupt teacher handed them the wrong key on purpose to get them taken out. The chubby kid asks, totally terrified, if the thing is strong, and the leader confirms its power level is an absolute joke. With glowing eyes, the beast proves that not even level 7 students would have a prayer of surviving this room. Cursing their garbage luck, the noble figures the dungeon just turned into a one-way ticket to the afterlife. The monster raises a massive sword, deciding every intruder in its house is officially toast. Terrified by the killing intent, Hisashi orders the team to scatter and run for their lives. Totally ignoring the retreat order, Tatsuma charges full speed straight at the enemy. Wearing a hyped-up smile, the kid thinks this situation is absolutely perfect. The skeleton wins up a heavy attack while the hero runs right into the danger zone. Moving fast, the swordsman slides across the ground, dodging the creature's massive blade. Pumped for a deadly challenge, the rookie's fighting spirit wakes up completely. Bright red aura entirely covers the MC's body. The redhead yells, calling his teammate suicidal and swearing he's not dying because of him. Absolutely stunned by the view, Butcho can't understand the crazy energy wrapping around his friend. Staring danger right in the face, the hero's like he actually has a real shot at winning this brawl. Without a second thought, the paladin decides to jump into the fight, leaving the noble totally furious. The swordsman focuses on reading the boss's moves, telling the shield guy to hold the line. But as he dodges another lightning-fast swing, the kid realizes things are getting super dicey. Not even waiting for his buddy's cue, Bucco pops his shield charge skill. The chubby kid rushes the front lines with everything he's got, swearing to do his job as the tank. Locking on, the skeleton turns to the new target, while the rookie promises to rip an opening. Showing zero mercy, the boss wins up a devastating strike against the glowing defense. With an ear-shattering crash, the attack shatters the tank's barrier like it was made of glass. The brutal impact sends the chubby kid flying backward like he weighs absolutely nothing. Capitalizing on the broken guard, the skeleton lands a direct kick right into the student's ribs. The poor guy slams violently into the cave wall and drops to the floor, totally out of the fight. Seeing the damage, Hisashi figures if the tank got folded that fast, he'd be wiped out instantly. The coward announces he's ditching the team, promising to leave flowers at their graves later. The monster locks back onto the swordsman and swings its giant, energy-charged blade. Gripping his old sword tight, Tatsuma blocks the hit, kicking up a massive shower of sparks. The cursed creature pushes hard against the kid's weapon, thinking his resistance is just pure disrespect. Staring the beast down, the hero announces that he's the real threat in the room now. The assassin freezes, unable to believe the pleb is seriously going to face this nightmare solo just for fun. Right then, the raidhead realizes that from minute 1, the rookie thought they were the dead weight on the squad. Annoyed by the whole mess, the MC yells, pulling the enemy's aggro entirely onto himself. Unable to swallow the insult to his pride, the noble casts magic on his daggers so he doesn't look like a total clown. Jumping onto the beast's back, the leader buries his flaming blades right into the target's weak spot. But the system flashes a big fat 0 for damage, leaving the guy totally stunned by the monster's magic resistance. Tanking the frontal attacks, the swordsman complains that the whole game plan is officially in the gutter. Without taking a single scratch, the skeleton grabs the noble by the throat, like it's nothing. Using the distraction, the hero sprints past right as the monster drops its hostage to swing back. The creature gets spooked by the pleb's insane speed as he pops up right in its blind spot. In one unbelievably smooth motion, Tatsuma slices through the enemy's solid bone in a flash. The boss's arm gets completely chopped off, making the red head hit the floor in absolute shock. Dust kicks up as the monster's giant limb crashes heavily into the damp dirt. Staring at the scene, the assassin clicks his tongue, feeling his ego take a massive punch to the gut. He realizes he blew all his magic power and still couldn't leave a single scratch. The class loser just sliced a high, tier beast with one swing of a literal garbage sword. Furious about the missing arm, the boss spins its sword with its good hand, trying to end the kid. Ducking fast, the MC dodges the lethal swing that barely misses, taking his head off. To help force an opening, Hisashi flies in with a heavy kick to the creature's leg. Tatsuma complains that the monster locked back onto him and tells the noble to step it up if he doesn't want to be in the way. Pissed at the lecture, the raidhead yells that he just slipped and tells his teammate to chill out. But after watching the kid perfectly block another heavy hit from the beast, the veteran finally swallows his pride and admits the pleb is undeniably overpowered.